Welcome to 15 Minutes Health, your source for clear, evidence-based insights in nutrition, neuroscience, longevity, and everyday wellness. Each video delivers science you can trust, designed to help you build a stronger, healthier life, all in under 15 minutes. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss practical, science-backed tools that can improve your health for the rest of your life.
Your heart beats over 100,000 times a day, every single day. Now, over a lifetime, all that work adds up, and it leads to a set of changes we call cardiac aging. And this process, well, it's one of the biggest factors that determines not just how long we live, but how well we live. It's tied to our energy, our physical performance, our overall health. And for a long time, we just assumed this decline was, an inevitable part of getting older. But what if it's not? What if that slow stiffening of our arteries, that gradual decline in our heart's function, what if that's not a fixed path? The big question we're tackling today is this. Is the age of your heart a number you're just stuck with, or is it something you can actually change? Well, a huge and growing body of research is giving us a pretty clear answer. No, it's not your destiny. We're now starting to understand that cardiac aging is a process we can heavily influence, and even more exciting, some of the key structural changes that come with it, they actually appear to be reversible. We can, in a very real biological sense, make the heart function as if it were younger. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack the science behind all of this. We'll start by looking at what cardiac aging actually is, down at the cellular level. Then we'll dive into the four main levers we can pull to change it: structured exercise, metabolic strategies like caloric restriction, powerful dietary patterns, and directly controlling risk factors to undo existing damage. And finally, we'll pull it all together into a blueprint for you.
Okay, first things first. If we want to talk about reversing something, we have to know exactly what we're reversing. So what does it actually mean for a heart to age? It's not just about the number of candles on your birthday cake. It's about specific, physical changes we can actually see and measure. So, cardiac aging is really a collection of things. Think of your blood vessels. They start to stiffen up, and they lose their ability to expand and contract smoothly. At the same time, the heart muscle itself, especially the main pumping chamber, can get thicker and less flexible. This makes it harder for the heart to relax and fill up with blood between beats. And deep down, at the cellular level, the little power plants in your cells, the mitochondria, start to lose their spark, and a low-level hum of inflammation kicks in throughout your system. All of these things together are what raise the risk for heart disease. This slide really paints a clear picture of the contrast. A young heart has flexible arteries. It pumps efficiently, its walls are thin but strong, and it relaxes really quickly after every beat to fill up for the next one. The aged heart? Well, it's more rigid. The arteries are stiff, the walls are thicker, that's the left ventricular hypertrophy, or LVH, and because of that stiffness, it's slower to relax. It's just a less efficient pump. This is the baseline we're trying to push back against. So, let's talk about our first tool, structured exercise. And I want to be really clear here. We're not just talking about being generally active. We're talking about using exercise as a very specific prescription to physically change the heart structure for the better. And this chart shows just how powerful that can be. This is from a study on patients who had recently had a heart attack. The bars show the amount of blood inside the heart's main chamber. And what you can see is that after just 10 weeks of supervised exercise, the hearts in that group literally got smaller. They became more compact and more efficient. Meanwhile, the group that didn't exercise saw no change. It's a stunningly clear result. So how did they do it? This wasn't random. It was a precise, supervised program. They did both cardio and resistance training 2 times a week, and they worked at a very specific intensity, between 60 and 80% of their max effort. It's this structured approach, this dosing of exercise, that really drives these incredible physical changes in the heart itself. And the changes weren't just structural. The heart's actual performance, its functional capacity, went through the roof. VO2 peak is basically the gold standard for measuring your fitness. It's the horsepower of your cardiovascular engine. And a 16% increase in just 10 weeks, that is a massive improvement. It means the heart isn't just remodeled, it's working way, way better. This whole process has a name. It's called reverse remodeling. See, when the heart is under stress from things like high blood pressure, it remodels in a bad way. It gets bigger, thicker, less efficient. But what interventions like structured exercise do is trigger the opposite. They tell the heart to remodel itself back towards a healthier, stronger, and you could say, a more youthful state.
The data we just saw is a perfect example of this in action.
Okay, exercise is a huge piece of the puzzle, but let's look at another powerful lever, one that works from the inside out, right down at the cellular level. We're talking about metabolic interventions, specifically things like caloric restriction and certain dietary patterns.
This quote really sets the stage. For decades, scientists have known that in lab animals, reducing calories without causing malnutrition is the single most reliable way to slow down aging and extend life. The big question, of course, has always been, does this actually work for us, for humans, and specifically for our hearts?
Well, the evidence we have from both primates and humans is pretty compelling. Just look at this table. Caloric restriction basically improves every single major risk factor for heart disease. But why? Well, deep down, it seems to boost our mitochondria, those cellular power plants, and it kicks our cellular cleanup process, called autophagy, into high gear. This reduces all that background noise of inflammation and stress. Now, obviously, this is a tough approach for many people, but the good news is that other strategies, like a well-formulated Mediterranean diet, have been shown in huge clinical trials to achieve similar benefits, reducing inflammation and improving the health of our blood vessels.
So we've covered exercise and diet, but what if some damage has already been done? Can we actually turn back the clock on that? The answer is yes. We can achieve a kind of cardiac rejuvenation by directly treating the conditions that caused the damage in the first place.
So let's go back to that thickened heart wall, left ventricular hypertrophy. Think of it this way. If you have high blood pressure, your heart is constantly pumping against high resistance. It's like it's lifting a heavy weight 24/7. And just like any muscle, it gets bigger to compensate. Before the heart, bigger is not better. It gets stiff, it doesn't work as well, and it's a clear sign of physical damage.
But here's the amazing part. This is not a one-way street. When you get that root cause, the high blood pressure, under control, you take that excessive load off the heart. And in response, the heart starts to remodel itself back to a healthier state. The muscle wall actually gets thinner and more flexible again. And we know from countless studies that when this happens, the risk of future heart problems drops significantly. We are literally reversing physical damage. And we see a similar thing when we aggressively lower LDL cholesterol. We can actually see plaque in the arteries start to shrink.
Okay, so we've looked at these different powerful pathways to a physiologically younger heart. The final step is to bring it all together. What does this look like as a single, cohesive strategy?
So it really comes down to these four main levers, and each one targets a different part of the aging process. You've got structured exercise to physically remodel the heart and boost its performance. You have metabolic strategies to improve health from the cell up. You have evidence-based dietary patterns to cool inflammation and protect your blood vessels. And you have aggressive control of risk factors to actually reverse damage that's already there. The most important thing to remember is that these aren't separate things. They work best when you put them all together.
At the end of the day, the core message from all this science is one of empowerment. The aging of your heart is not something that just happens to you. It's an active process, and it responds directly to the things we do. The evidence is clear. We have the tools to slow it down, to stop its progression, and in some very real measurable ways to even reverse it.
So the science gives us a clear blueprint. It shows us what's possible. The goal is no longer just preventing disease, but actively restoring youthful function to the heart. The only question left, really, is for you. What step will you take to rejuvenate your heart?
Thanks for watching 15 Minutes Health. If this video helped you, consider subscribing. Your support allows us to keep creating clear, science-backed content to help you stay healthier, stronger, and better informed. See you in the next video.